The Mannin Line, daily interaction, debate and exchange of ideas. Broadcast on Manx Radio from midday till 1, Monday to Friday.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Mannin Line on Manx Radio. We're open line through till 1 today. So if you got something you'd like to tell everybody else, by all means, call 66 13 68. Text 166 177. WhatsApp 166 177. Email studio@manxradio.com. Our daily get-together round the transmitter. And thank you, Terry. She dropped me a note after the show yesterday and said, "You fibber, you said you were going to talk about Manx Wildlife Trust and the fact they needed some help at the charity shop in Peel." Terry, you're dead right. Time ran away with us yesterday. Manx Wildlife Trust looking for new volunteers to run its outlet in Peel. So if you'd like to help out, they'd love to hear from you, and we'll hear from them shortly. And I promise we will hear from them shortly. In the meantime, Manx Telecom is hoping to have completed the rollout of fibre broadband across the Isle of Man, but those on copper lines, you may be on a copper line, will have to make the switch soon after. Now, Manx Telecom's intending to switch off its copper network, which they say can be unreliable due to external factors, including the weather. Are you on copper? Are you on fibre? Do you care? The man who knows about it completely is Christian Jones.
We're told the prices of copper and fibre are more or less in line with each other, but we don't have a specific date in which the copper network will be withdrawn. All we know at the moment is it's coming, and it's likely to happen shortly after fibre is rolled out in full across the island. Manx Telecom's infrastructure supports other networks, like Shaw, who essentially rent out parts of MT's network. But if Manx Telecom control the wholesale price, will this force everyone onto fibre? Manx Telecom's Chief Technical Officer Hugo Fansell explains.
It is not economically feasible from a network perspective, and if we talk about wholesale then, to run and maintain two networks. And that's why we started signalling that certainly where we've already passed with fibre in those specific areas, that we will not provide copper services if these are straightforward conversions that we can do.
Does that mean that when copper is withdrawn, we could see prices come down?
Not necessarily. So as what we also see globally, the investment in the fibre network is a significant investment. So we have to do various pieces of work. So if we look at the civils infrastructure, and as it normally is in communications networks, arguably 3 or 5 years from now, there'll be even improved fibre products again, and that will provide more speed, increased speed, or improved latencies perhaps. And, we'll be investing in those networks again.
And how much does it cost to run the copper network as opposed to fibre?
I won't be quoting exact numbers, but the general dilemma that you face is from a supplier perspective. We make use of certain equipment, so beyond just the copper lines, there's active equipment that makes sure that the communication networks works well. As we get closer and closer to copper not being a viable product overall globally, these providers of the technologies are also withdrawing their services. So it's actually more to do with operability of that service going forward.
Manx Telecom essentially holds a monopoly over wholesale prices. So what assurances can you give to the population when everyone relies so heavily on the internet that Manx Telecom won't just hike the prices knowing there's no alternative option?
It's not in our best interest to hike the wholesale prices in an irresponsible way. The regulator on island, part of their mandate is actually to make sure that we have fair competition and that we are serving our customers and our subscribers on the island in the right way.
Okay.
So, no, that will not happen.
Well, that's Hugo Fansell from Manx Telecom talking about the future. How are you feeling about this? Have you got fibre? Are you all sorted where you are? You copper? They're intending to switch off the copper network. Unreliable. You heard what he had to say. I just wonder what your thoughts are at Manx Telecom. The new traditional copper voice lines won't be available to order to properties that already have a fibre broadband service installed. And new copper broadband services, ADSL and VDSL, won't be available to order to properties that already have a fibre broadband service installed. Both of these changes include apartment buildings where fibre broadband services are available in the complex. You'll need to speak to them, contact your retail provider, but that's the situation. The project started, it was in 2018, 36,000 properties, they say, have been provided with access to fibre. Could you say a big thank you to whoever handed my mate's wife's handbag and the staff at McDonald's for looking after it, says Dave. Well, of course we'll do that. It's the Isle of Man. Howard's on now. Hi, Howard.
Hello, Andy. Just strange enough, I saw that headline about the fibre optic, etc. And a long while ago, I asked the Manx Telecom, and I asked on your programme about it, our analogue phones, we have 3 in the house, one downstairs, one in the kitchen, and one upstairs in the bedroom. And for us to change those onto digital phones at the time was going to cost over £200. But I just out of curiosity, when I saw that this morning, I rang Manx Telecom, and the young girl, she said they have a system whereby now you can keep your original phones and they don't have to purchase new digital ones. And I said, well, that would be nice if it was explained to more elderly people like myself, I said, who are not fully conversant with the digital systems.
So just say that again. Have you got fibre then?
No, not yet. It's supposed to be here, but it won't be here now till late 23, early 24.
Right.
But when it does come, we're on what they call ADSL. That's the copper wire, and our phones are plugged into a socket coming into the house. Now I don't know whether she said if they're plugged in, but they won't be compatible. But I should imagine just about every phone that's on copper will have a box somewhere that you plug your phones into. Both my internet and the phone come into this little box that's on the window ledge. That's fitted by Manx Telecom, feeds both systems. But one thing I've just said to Howard there, with people with the digital, they will have a problem that's going to have to be overcome, because if the internet goes down for any reason, you lose your signal and you won't have an emergency phone. And one of the things they need to check are the people with my cousin who has one of the phone systems where if he has a fall or anything like that, it's a messenger. These all have to be converted as well. So these are things that, once the Manx Telecom come along and do these jobs, they'll obviously have them in hand.
Oh, well, that's interesting you say that. So if somebody is vulnerable, presumably if they've got no landline and the internet goes down, they'd have to be provided with a mobile device, presumably.
That's assuming the mobile is not connected through a SIM, where some of these are through SIM. Right. SIMs, you're getting your internet through a SIM router. And if that goes down, then you're devoid of any means of communication. But it'd be interesting for the Manx Telecom to come in and speak in layman's terms and not put somebody there that's full of gobbledygook, which causes more confusion as to what the position is for. Well, this young one said, are yours cordless phones? Which they are. We have one base station and the other 2, but the base station is connected to the box that's on the window ledge. Now, if we go fully digital, which the fibre optic will be, then will that be capable of receiving and giving out telephone calls to the normal outside world, or will we have to purchase phones?
Oh, I mean, if you go on fibre, you have to buy new phones because standard phones won't work on fibre.
Well, this is question I asked this girl in Manx Telecom this morning.
And they're £60 each.
Yeah, that was, well, at least that. But this is the question I asked the girl this morning. And she said, no, if you're on cordless phones, ordinary household phones, we have a system inbuilt now. I knew they were testing, but they have a system inbuilt that can accommodate these now. So she said you won't have to buy new phones. I said, well, probably they're not advertising it because they like to see somebody walking out the shop with £200 worth of phones on their arm that they don't really need.
I just wonder what's going to happen, as you say. I mean, I don't know, tempt providence, but, you know, if the internet goes down, where are we? What happens then?
Yep, well, without a paddle, well and truly up the creek. As I say, the internet, if the household phones, my wife phones her sister in Northern Ireland on a regular basis, and our daughter up in Scotland, then they're going to be devoid of any means of communication if the internet goes down. And we all know how often that fails. Well, in some cases, it can be several days before it's up and running again. But it'd be nice if Manx Telecom, just as whichever they are, the ones that's going to be doing this, because Sure, I think they run off the same system
as
Manx Telecom. Yeah, it's a joint one. But either one of the two major companies would come on your program and explain to the people in layman's terms just how anybody, the likes of myself, has got 3 phones here. They're all just part of a communications unit. Nothing spectacular, but to get new phones would cost us a minimum of £200 which is ridiculous considering we're working perfectly adequately now. And if they don't put a provision in for these to remain working, then they're in breach of contract.
Well, I can tell you in layman's terms one thing, Howard.
They won't come on.
It's going to cost more money.
There's nothing more certain. That's one thing.
All right.
But as I say, that was the girl that come on this morning. Very pleasant, very helpful. But I'm still none the wiser in a sense.
All right. Howard, thanks for calling us today.
Take care. Bye now.
All right, 19 minutes past 12 on Manx Radio. This is this story, what's happening with the update on changes to the copper broadband services, which will be, as Howard mentioned, they work off the same system of Manx Telecom Wholesale are the people who are doing this. Obviously, Manx Telecom has retail, and Sure is a retail outlet as well. But we'll see what happens in the future. A note in from Andy, 667. Is anybody able to say how much it's going to cost a Douglas ratepayer for reinstalling the play equipment for children on Loch Promenade? Well, it's going to be the best part of 2 years since Storm Barra finished it off, and you heard the Deputy Mayor say it's going to be end of the year. We keep our fingers crossed for putting a play area in November. So let's see. But how much it costs? Well, as soon as they put it in, we'll be asking Douglas Council exactly how much it is that they've been doing. And messages in today, lots of stuff in today. It's a busy old Thursday on the brink of a bank holiday. And how many people are going to die because the router was switched off at night and their partner didn't realise? Well, looking on the bright side, thanks for that. And just regarding the Manx Wildlife, Terry's been back on and said, you've not done it, so we'll do it then. Okay, this is the Manx Wildlife Trust are looking for new volunteers in Peel. So can you help? We've been talking to a volunteer, Hilary Paul, and the Trust Chief Executive, Lee Morris. Can you help them?
We've got a wonderful gift shop in Peel that for years has been run by volunteers, and for various reasons over the last probably few months actually, we've lost volunteers for different reasons. And just getting a succession has been really, really difficult for us, which has meant now that the shop's actually closed quite a bit of the time. Now, that's, I guess, difficult for us as a charity because it's a really needed income. But also the shop in Peel is a really attractive thing. So for Peel to have our shop closed, it's slightly detrimental on Peel, especially when it's TT. I mean, at the Sunday I came down, the shop was closed on Sunday. So, yeah, we've lost a few volunteers for various reasons. Some of them quite sad, but volunteers have stepped away or not been able to come anymore. We've got a lovely team of volunteers. It's a really nice place to volunteer, everyone tells me. And really we're just hoping that we might, a few people out there might want a really nice place to come and give a few hours every week working with nice people in our shop, doing nice things to support Manx Wildlife Trust.
So what sort of volunteers are you looking for then? What sort of people do they need to be?
They need to be people that are quite happy meeting other people. So for many people, in Blunt, it's people working behind our till, selling things to people coming in our shop. But it is more than that. We're looking, the Wildlife Trust shop in Peel, it's, as you can see looking through our window now, it's in the middle of Market Square. A lot of people come through the square. It's almost in the hub between the seafront and the main shopping street. People do come in generally and just ask for information. So we need we need people that are happy to chat, say hello to people, promote the Wildlife Trust, promote Manx nature and the island. So a little bit of an ambassador, but people that genuinely like meeting people. And we are, I think the sort of person that comes in a Wildlife Trust shop is pretty nice as well. So it's nice people for nice people.
So what we're hoping, Hilary, is that more people are going to give up some time, not necessarily on a regular basis, but just as and when. What would you say to encourage someone to come along and give this a go?
It's fun, really. It used to cost me a lot of money coming in to volunteer because there's always something new in the wildlife shop that you can buy, and it's really good. You do see lots of nice people. The people that come into the shop come in because they want to give money to wildlife, really, as well as doing their shopping. So they're all of the same sort of mindset, and it's easy to chat to people, and it is fun.
That's Hilary Paul. You also heard the Chief Exec Lee Morris from Manx Wildlife Trust. If you want more information or you'd like to help out at Peel's Wildlife Trust charity shop, they give them a call on 84432. 84432. Nice people for nice people, says Lee. 84432. And John's with us now. Hi, John.
Hi, Ed. Just like to make a comment about the man that's in the tower on Manx Radio. He is an absolute waste of time because he doesn't know anything about the TT races. If it wasn't for his companion up there, Boydie, he would be lost. The fella at Boyd's takes him out of the mire time after time when he gives out the wrong information, the wrong thing. And he can't commentate. All he does is ask other members of the team questions, and he gets his answers through that way. But what really makes me mad is I believe a few months ago the Manx Radio put a thing out about bringing this person over for the TT, an expert. Well, he might be an expert in something across, but it's certainly not the TT. And how much is this costing the Manx Radio and the ratepayers? Not only for what he's getting paid, but also I would imagine he's getting put up in a hotel or somewhere at the time that he's here. But it's a shame because he has spoiled what's been a really good team at the races from Manx Radio.
Well, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think ratepayers pay for it. I also think he was hired by the motorsport division of the government.
Right. Well, whoever's hired, somebody is paying, and that somebody will be the Manx residents, one way or another, will be paying for it. You haven't got anybody coming along waving a £1,000 cheque and say, I'll pay for it. It's got to come out of the funds.
Apart from that, what do you think of the TT coverage so far?
Brilliant. It's been very, very good, apart from him.
And have you been watching anything on television?
I've been watching on television. I've been out on the course, yes.
Yeah. What do you think of the the green light coverage on television?
Very good. Very, very good.
Interesting. All right, John, we appreciate that. Thanks for calling today.
Okay, bye.
All right, 12:25 on Manx Radio. Copper landlines do work with fibre internet. I've got it at home in Douglas, says 248. The big issue is the coverage you get in the house. You may well need a booster for that coverage in each room. Something they don't make clear, says Max in the car. How's your coverage, by the way? What's your upload and download speed? Quick, a lot quicker recently, haven't they, with fibre? And how long is fibre going to get to you? If anybody's getting fibre later on, next year perhaps, just wondering how far it's going to be out. And they did make a big thing. I live in Andreas, says Renee. The other night I was without electricity for 3 hours. During that time, my cordless phone didn't work, and neither did my cell phone. The cell phone didn't work. Or maybe the transmitter was down. I live on my own and felt it disconcerting to be in absolute silence with no way of communicating. That was in the north of the Isle of Man. Yes, okay. What about people who have no signal to their mobile phones at home either? Perhaps we all need to go on Starlink, says Ed. Starlink, that's Elon Musk thing, isn't it? I think they've got that on... Is that on the boat? Starlink's very, very good. I know there's a franchise on the Isle of Man that does Starlink. That's the one that beams down from a satellite. So it is available. If you want to opt out of our providers, you can get Starlink. So we wish you well where that's concerned. What are we on? 27 minutes past 12 midday. You're on Mannin Line, live on Manx Radio.
How would you like to be remembered? Why not create a lasting memory by leaving a legacy donation to the Queen's Pier Restoration Trust? This would help our dedicated team to continue the restoration to save our historic landmark. Whether purchasing a personalised plaque, making a legacy donation, or requesting funeral donations in lieu of flowers, you will be remembered. To find out more, email qprt.net or visit us on Facebook. This audio has been kindly sponsored by Paul Carey & Sons.
Are you concerned about your eye health? Holmes & Davidson Opticians in Douglas are proud to offer the Eidon Ultra-Wide Field Retinal Imaging and Heidelberg 4D OCT systems. State-of-the-art machines that allow early detection and management of eye diseases. Don't wait. Book your appointment today and ensure the health of your eyes with the best technology available. Call 676 230 or visit holmesanddavidsonopticians.co.uk now.
It's a racing tradition. Head to Wine-Right and get the week's supply in at the island's biggest town centre drinks warehouse. Beer, cider and wine from all over the world. Your favourite spirits and soft drinks, as well as local brews, gin and vodka, right next to all the snack essentials and groceries you need for non-stop enjoyment. Open 9 till 8 Monday to Saturday, 10 till 6 on Sunday. The Wine-Right Neighbourhood Food Store. Victoria Road in Douglas, just off Broadway.
Haldane Fisher in Ramsey and Haldane Fisher in Douglas are open from 7:30 to 4:30 Monday to Thursday during TT Week, and only closed Senior Race Day and Saturday. For TT Race Week, we're operating a collection-only service.
Jump aboard the time train and take a trip back to the 1960s on Carnaby Street every Saturday morning at 8:30 with Isle of Man Railways. It's full of 60s hits and memories. On board the time train, Gladys the tea lady.
Right, boys.
Harry the driver.
Hello, crispy old mate.
Roger the fireman.
All aboard Isle of Man Railways time train.
Oh, and Raffles the dog. And of course you and me. You can win tickets for two for one of the Isle of Man Railways fantastic dining car experiences. Carnaby Street, 8:30 on Manx Radio, on AM/FM, online, on smart speakers, and all over the world at manxradio.com. The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
29 minutes past 12. Thanks for dropping by this lunchtime. And a note in from Nikki, who said, I volunteer for Manx Wildlife Trust. I look for nurdles. Do you know what a nurdle is? A nurdle are those tiny plastic pellets as used to they're washed up on the beach. These tiny little pellets of plastic. They're called nurdles. And Manx Wildlife Trust monitors how many nurdles. It's true, there is a thing called a nurdle, Nurdle. How many nurdles are on the beach? Which beaches have more on? And they're cyclical. What time of year affects the numbers? It could help them with studies for marine wildlife as well. They pass the information on to anybody really who wants it. They're everything from birds to fish think they're food because they look like fish eggs, and in time they make their way up the food chain, killing larger sea animals. And also toxic chemicals can transfer from the environment onto microplastics at much higher concentrations than in the environment. All in all, they're bad news, and Manx Wildlife Trust helps look after them, these tiny pieces of plastic called nurdles. So anyway, if you can help, not least by keeping the Wildlife Trust shop in Peel open, 84432. Julian's on. Hi, Julian.
Hi, Andy. Yeah, I was just listening to that person who said that they had a landline, but they couldn't do anything while the power cuts are on.
Right.
If they have a cheap, I think they're about 12 quid, corded phone plugged into their landline, it will work, because Dalton Street Exchange has a load of batteries that actually power the system up when the mains goes down. Well, I think it's actually separate all the time. I think it's charged as long as Pulrose is going. It's charged anyway. So if they had a corded landline, they'd still be all right. And that is part of the problem with fibre. As much as it's nice to go fast on the internet, it is at the mercy of internet and power. So if either of those go down, you've got a bit of a problem. And it kind of brings me to the fact that we've got no clear plan in government to replace the power station other than to connect the island to the UK. And they're also on a net zero trajectory, like Europe is. And on top of that, they're adding in all these new huge electrical loads like EV charging and heat pumps. And if you don't think about power outages, Reuters last year was reporting, and I shall quote from Reuters, Britain could face 3-hour planned power cuts to homes and businesses this winter if it cannot import electricity from Europe and struggles to attract enough gas imports to fuel gas-fired power plants, the National Grid warned on Thursday, which was October last year. So if we're going to be hooked up to the UK, we're all going to go over to communications that require power. You don't have that emergency facility of using landlines that are connected directly to a corded phone.
Yeah.
You're going to have a bit of a problem. And uswitch.com did a survey recently, and they said places like Edinburgh, they had a downtime on the internet of 175 hours across 2022. And across the UK, there were 16 million working days lost to outages, with 4.7 million UK adults suffering 3 or more hours of outages. So if we become hidebound to this, I mean, it depends on what the resilience, as they like to use the term. But if we're going down the trajectory of net zero, one of the big mixes in the pot is power. So communications is quite a vital thing, especially in an emergency.
I mean, 2026 is 2.5 years away, and the Council of Ministers has approved plans to start construction projects to bring 30 megawatts of electricity from onshore wind and solar energy by 2026. That's 2 years next January. And bearing in mind how long it takes to build things on the Isle of Man and in Liverpool, 2 years is no time at all.
I know. There is one other point to this, which is not really related to the copper line, but it just occurred to me. Our friend Bonzo was on a couple of days ago saying about how if geothermal was going to try a test bore, or Kroger Gas, they shouldn't be given any public money to do that. I'm correct, he said that. So why are we throwing money at wind farms and solar farms? If they're so wonderful, why can't they stand on their own 2 feet? If we're not prepared to give a penny towards geothermal, why would we be giving tens of millions to wind farms on the island? I'm not talking about Orsted out at sea at Mackle. I'm talking about the ones on the island.
Presumably because that's perceived as the thing, it's the going trend.
Yeah, but if it's so wonderful, if somebody wants to start up a cafe, the equivalent, say, to Walney Wind Farm would be to give them 3 times the amount of money it would take them to set up, and then here you go. Well, everyone would subscribe to that, wouldn't they? And there's no guarantee that the cafe will be successful because they might not be fit for purpose, the people that are starting it up. So it's the same thing. If sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander, isn't it? Why do we have to have up to £40 million of our money going on wind farms, which that Wade Allison University of Oxford thing says they're not even producing a tenth of European power for a cost of, I think it was 200 billion for the UK alone. So who knows how much the amount of money's been spent in Denmark and Germany on
Well,
these.
they do. I mean, I'm sure Denmark, if I'm not wrong, but Denmark gets most of its electricity from wind power, doesn't it?
No, it merely tries to say that, but what they're doing is, when the wind's not blowing, they have to import from 4 or 5 different sources, whether it be Norway hydro or coal and gas from Germany and Sweden. But what their ticket price is, what they say is, sometimes it supplies, because when they say installed capacity, that is assuming that it's running 24/7, perfect wind all the time. But the problem you've got is, the theory goes, it's a formula, but the easiest thing to say is, if you've got a 20-mile-an-hour wind, if it drops by half, you lose 8 times the amount of energy, because it's called the third rule. It's a cubed rule. So you lose 8 times the amount of energy for half the speed, and you gain 8 times the energy for double the speed, which means then you've got this problem that even a mild increase in the wind will get the turbine shutting down because it can't handle it.
The 3 poster boys for wind power in Europe, though, I mean, we mentioned Denmark. It's one of the Baltic. Lithuania. Lithuania is very big on wind, and I don't know if you've been to Spain, but everywhere, there are wind turbines everywhere in Spain, and they reckon Spain's biggest source of electricity is wind.
All subsidised by the European Union. And only 3 of the countries in the European Union have ever paid in more than they've taken out. So it's fine for Spain, but, and also Denmark's had the highest electricity prices in the world for about the length of time that they've been doing wind. And their plans now are for 4,000 square kilometres of new turbines in the sea, which...
So where do you think we're going to be then if by 2026 we have to have something happen? And the government's plan, signed off by the Council of Ministers, is to get 30 megawatts produced by onshore wind and solar energy by 2026. Had we not better get our skates on?
30 megawatts, how often? They say 30 megawatts. I mean, our power station is 100 megawatts roughly, but it runs 24/7. If it only ran one day in 7, you'd soon have problems, wouldn't you?
All right, good point. Julian, have a great weekend.
Thanks very much. You too, Andy.
Good to hear from you. Thanks for being with us. Ken's on now. Hi, Ken.
Hi, afternoon for you. I'm not a big lover of the TT, but we had family over, so we went to watch the practices at Ballacrane one night last week evening. And surprise, surprise, one of the race bikes, about the 4th one, stopped and tried to turn left at Ballacrane to go up the Hope. And they let him through eventually after a lot of arm waving, and off he went. Are the bikes... I don't know the rules. Are the bikes insured to use public roads?
What time was this?
In the evening when the practices had started.
And turned left up the Hope?
Yes. I'm told that they are insured as long as they stay within 2 miles of the course.
Right.
But I assume they're not registered for the road, so they get away without paying any road tax.
And why was that? Did he have a problem?
Don't know, because he seemed to go up all right. When he went left up the Hope...
He wasn't just going for some sandwiches or anything?
Don't know. But seemingly, I asked one or two students, said yes, they're allowed to go off course to get back to the pits or the grandstand. But I tried to find out, looking it up, but it seems to be one of the myths that it's a rule.
So they can, as long as they stay within 2 miles of the course?
Yes.
Wow. Well, no doubt somebody will know all about this. Thanks for that, Kem.
Okay. Cheers.
Cheers
bye.
now. Good to hear from you. Everybody's asking me about nurdles, by the way. They do exist. Nurdles are actually something about the size of a lentil, tiny plastic pellets. It's true, and they're searching for them on the beach. Bonzo's with us now. Hi, Bonzo.
Hi, yeah. Just apropos of nurdle. Yes, they're little pellets, and they're the basis of making things in plastic, because essentially you put them in a big hopper and then you heat them up so they melt, and then you put them in under pressure into a mould. Injection moulding.
And the trouble is that birds think they're eggs, they're fish eggs.
Yeah. It's a very bad problem, sadly.
Okay. But that wasn't why you called.
No. It was coming back to Julian. And paying for renewable energy generation. I don't particularly understand why Manx utilities have got it into their head that they should be the people who build and operate renewables on the island, when there are people with rather more expertise in doing it who are actually on island and can provide those things with no capital cost. And an agreement to provide power, a power purchase agreement. So, the other thing, of course, that people seem, well, certainly in Manx utilities, don't seem to grasp is that they don't have any money. What was it, the loss that they made last year? Something like 40 million? There simply isn't going to be 30 million available for them as capital in order to go and build 30 megawatts of wind. And if they think that's going to happen, they really are living in cloud cuckoo land. The only way we're going to get onshore wind, or indeed significant onshore solar, is it's going to have to be a public-private partnership. There'll be the 10 megawatts that go on government buildings, but that's a government building thing. It's nothing to do with the broader network. So, yes, if we're looking at other things, for renewables, just like with sort of geothermal or with I hate to say it, Crogger, they have to pay for it.
And you mentioned the other day, Bonzo, that you weren't keen on the Peel Group being involved.
Yes, well, of course, the Peel Group has a history of increasingly controlling various things on the island. They control our ports, our access to UK ports.
Well, yeah, they don't control our. They just bought the Mersey Docks and Harbour Board, didn't they? And they bought Heysham.
Yeah. So that's both of our major lines of communication with the outside world.
And Liverpool Airport.
Yes. And so for them to come to us and find more ways to seemingly maximise profits.
But I mean, they do have experience. If you're flying to Liverpool, I think there's a big wind farm there, and that's theirs.
Yes. I know. I know PLNRE have quite some experience in.
But I mean, surely, if the government and the civil service, tie them up in a nice tight contract, they couldn't.
Yes, well, Liverpool landing stage.
Oh yes, I remember what Mr. Robertshaw said.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, that wouldn't happen. We'd end up paying twice as much, I think.
But it would seem weird that if we had somebody like Peel based on the owner lives on the chairman lives on the Isle of Man. If they know what they're doing, surely we'd be cutting off our nose to spite our face to turn away from their experience and expertise.
There are other people on the island who have as much expertise.
Okay, who are they?
Another consortia, 2 or 3 consortia, right, who do that, who have that kind of.
But Bonzo, we've got to hit the ground running. 2 years come this December. Something should have started.
Well, yes. Now let's remember that by 2026. Yes, means before 31st of December 2026. And there's an election. So you're talking about nearly 3 years to construct, rather than 2.
Oh, I see. So by 2026 means by the end of 2026.
Yes, it's not by the end of 2025.
Oh, silly me. There was I thinking we were in a hurry about this.
Well, that's the great thing about putting dates in things and the words you put before the date, like a by date. You must always look at a by date, because a by date means, we have to do it by then, so we needn't do anything for a couple of years, and then we'll hurry up, and then, no, we can't reach that target, so we then have to push it back. Whereas if you have in legislation a before, so that really says, yes, this has to be done before this particular date on the legislation.
And you're talking about a public-private partnership, but that will mean that our negotiating and legislating skills will have to top-notch. If we're going into a public-private partnership, this has to benefit the public of the Isle of Man.
Yes, well, I think there are certainly some of the other onshore renewables developers that have had talks with MUA, as I understand it. I think some of them have a more, how can I put it, localist approach rather than Peel, which just is how much money can I wring out of it.
Okay. All right, Bonzo, appreciate it. Have a good weekend now.
Thank you.
All right, it's 14 minutes to 1.
It's good to talk. It's how we get things done. So when you apply for a personal loan from Black Horse, you'll get support from one of our relationship managers who's there to talk you through your application. You could borrow up to £50,000 with up to 7 years to pay it back, and you could receive your money within 24 hours of approval. Ready to talk? Go to blackhorseoffshore.co.uk to request a call back today. Finance subject to status. Applicants must be 18 or over.
Give your home a facelift with Manx Glass and Glazing. Whether choosing aluminium or UPVC in traditional or contemporary styles, you can be sure of excellent workmanship and guarantees. Members of Construction Isle of Man and family run for over 30 years, Manx Glass and Glazing are committed to the local community, and they invest in future generations through their apprenticeship scheme. Visit the impressive showroom on Snugborough Trading Estate. Trust Manx Glass and Glazing. Quality and style since 1986.
Employers, having trouble with staff and need reliable advice? Employees, are you treated fairly in the workplace or do you have a grievance?
The workplace can be problematic on both sides. For any work-related legal issue, contact the employment law experts, Man Benham. They advise employers and staff on all work-related problems with sound professional advice and a transparent fee policy. To arrange your free consultation at Man Benham, call today on 639 350.
Man Benham, here for you.
This is the Isle of Man talking. The Mannin Line.
Mannin Line! Juan's on. Hi, Juan.
How are you, Andy?
It's getting better. The clouds are clearing now and we've got some blue sky.
There you go. And we've got another week of good weather coming in next week. And we've got, was it Storm Oscar this weekend, haven't we?
Is it so? Storm Oscar?
It used to be, when the sun was shining in the summer, it used to be a nice summer. And when we had a bit of rain, Now we've got massive heat waves. The weather forecast is covered in red instead of nice yellow. And we've got Storm Oscar.
Have you seen that? I mean, that's right. The weather forecasts look absolutely ominous, don't they?
They love to put the fear factor into the net zero. We've got to do this net zero. Look at it. We're all in red.
Everything's extreme weather now. So if it's dry, we've got an extreme drought. If it rains, we're all in danger of being submerged. If it's windy, we're all going to get blown away.
And this is the thing, and we're talking, going on to what I was come on about. The government microphone is at volume 10, and everyone else who's got a sensible thing to say on rebuttal is at volume 1. And if you keep hearing the volume 10 long enough, you end up believing it, like the weather forecast. Well, actually, we're all out enjoying what? It's 66 or 67 degrees, which is not like tropical, but we're being told that we're in the middle of an absolutely historic heat wave. So there you go. I'm looking there as well at the... Well, everyone's attention's on Gordon the Gopher getting sexual allegations against Philip Schofield. The real news is consultation paper on CDC currency is just being issued in the UK, and also a counter disinformation unit that the UK government has got, which could look at your political aspirations and your social media sites. So again, volume 10 from the government in control of us all.
Well, I've got news for you. The people in Southern California look at everybody's social media sites, so they know. The people in black shirts know all about everything.
Oh God, yes, but they actually now want to control it as well. That's the thing. That's what this whole issue is about, isn't it? It's control and compliance.
I was just a couple of things this week because I hadn't been on all week. I heard John Wannenberg on about the electric bus, which I'd made the point about, I think, the week before, about the £500,000 and the longevity of the battery life.
Well, we haven't bought it, we're just trying it out.
Yes, yeah, and again, I think my point was who's paid for that, and why weren't these tests done before they came here? But it's nice to see John has stepped up and asking these questions about the virtual signal. And then I'd say to John, also look at the actual the wind turbines as well, and actually look at the other side of the coin from that on the scientific evidence, because I keep asking this question all the time about the base loads, and I think Julian just mentioned it a couple of times this week as well. No one is coming to us to say we're going to have the same amount of electricity for our lives when we introduce this. And the point was made there, are we going to have blackouts? Are we going to go back in time? Because no one is answering this question. It's like the geothermal thing that we keep going on about. They're talking about spending how many million on an interconnector, which is not going to give us energy self-sufficiency, which they're talking about, where the geothermal would. So is it not something that they should be exploring? I mean, to think that we could actually have our own independent power source on the island, the things that we could do with that here, beside our own lifestyle, and not be dependent on an interconnector coming in from somewhere, which again, is going to cost us millions. And just on the point that I think Bonzo made quite happily the other day about, the great thing about Italy is it's volcanic. Well, didn't someone come on the other day and said we had that at Pool Vash Quarry many years ago?
Well, it's funny you should say that. I've got a message in from Trevor who just said it would be nice to hear a politician or at least somebody say, "Oh, this geothermal looks quite interesting. Why don't we take a look at it?" I don't think I've heard one politician say, "Let's have a lash at this. Let's just see what's what. And if it's going to cost us a few $100,000, the public will understand that we had a go." But everybody seems to be just looking the other way.
And I don't see why, because, like I said, the interconnector is going to cost millions, and we're going to be at the mercy of someone else's power and electricity. And I keep saying this about the energy and the food sources. They seem to be hell-bent on going down this globalization route, where we could be quite clearly our own person. And as Bonzo said there just before, we've got quite a lot of expertise on this island, but we've got people like Fred, and who's the other guy that's in the geothermal?
Yeah.
So, you say we've got expertise, but they only want the expertise to suit their own purposes, and their own purpose is this wind turbines and stuff like that, but they can't give us the answer of, are we going to produce enough power to support the lifestyle that we have here at the moment? And everyone's avoiding that. Everyone's skipping to the side of it and avoiding it. And I have to ask the question, why?
Okay, I've got to go because Tommy's waiting. Okay, Juan.
See you later, Andy.
Bye, have a good weekend. Tommy, hi.
Oh, hi, Andy. I was out yesterday, Andy, from my friend. We parked our car down on the Harris Promenade and took a walk through, all the way through to Lord Street. And whatever system they laid for this flooring down there outside, it was absolutely filthy with their stains, Andy. Absolutely filthy. There were stains of all sorts of deposits, bird deposits, drink, food deposits, and it was the whole lot was stained from where we started right through to Lord Street.
It's not a good look, is it, Tommy?
It's terrible, Andy. I mean, surely the Douglas Corporation have got some sort of cleaning system that they can get rid of that, Andy.
It would help if they just threw, a couple of dozen buckets of water over it and gave it a brush.
It would. I was volunteering to go down myself, Andy, with a bottle of bleach and a nice hard brush. I'd have it done in a couple of hours, but it doesn't look nice for the visitors, though, Andy. They're all deposits. Some are dark, and some are just thrown. People have thrown, and I don't know whether they actually brushed. They must brush it up, but that's no good. But all the stains are left behind, Andy, and it was never like that back in the days.
And again, I don't know whether things look better looking back, but I don't remember it being this bad ever before.
Never, Andy. Not with the stains from the start. And there was a chap there with a little brush, and he said that all the surfaces are self-cleaning, he said. I said, self-cleaning? What are you talking about, self-cleaning? This has never been cleaning ever since this surface has been laid.
I think they probably mean self-cleaning when it rains.
Well, I don't think it does, Andy, because we haven't had a lot of rain, but we've had enough rain just to wash away some of this. It's just not good look for visitors, Andy. Put it like that, mate.
Okay, have a good weekend, Tommy.
Yeah, and you, Andy. Cheers, Paul.
Good to hear from you. Yes, the TT and MGP competitors can get insurance to go to and from the pits up to a certain time after the roads open, says Texter 692. It's been in force for at least 30 years, says that correspondent. Des said he's probably going to the amenity site to scrap his bike. I don't think so, to be quite honest. On the subject of nurdles, says Judy in Colby, I saw many of them on the French Riviera this year on our holiday. It's very sad. Been going down that way for 10 years, never seen so many nurdles on protected areas of coast. It's a worldwide problem, and the Manx Wildlife Trust are doing a survey. If you want to help them with Nurdle Watch, that's it. Thanks to Howie Kane on the phones today. Bank holiday tomorrow. Weekend, 3 days. Going to be back on Monday. Enjoy the weekend.
WINT